Kathy, I want you to speak on it. Demonstration of the meeting to that. All the way.
All right, as we need my name is Charlie McMahon, and I'm the lead performance manager here at the People. Today it is my absolute pleasure to be introducing Abigail Johnson-Dodge, the new football author and the writer for 2021 publication Sheet Cake, which is available in the back. Was chosen for the best books of the year by the New York Times, Minneapolis Star Tribune, as well as an everyday baker. She has written and contributed to dozens of popular and respected booking outlets, both print and online. Every month, her column Baking Together is published on thevineyard.com. Tonight, she is joined by her friend, writer E.B. Lee, whose debut novel, Clean Sweep, which is also available at the back, was published last year. Prior to her journey as a writer, Lee owned and operated her Butternut Gardens Farms flower farm in Southport, and she earned her master's degree from the Yale School of the Environment and split her time between North Carolina and Connecticut. So just before we start, I'm just going to give a few updates into the programs here at the Pequot. Next, let me check my sheet. Next Tuesday, December 20th, please join Abad of Fairfield in Westport for our menorah lighting ceremony. There's going to be a DJ, snacks, games, and it's going to be a really fun community event. So if you guys want to attend, please do. That starts at 6 o'clock. And without further ado, and my phone over.
You want to offer any? No, we did it great. I really have nothing else to add. I'll say hi to Dave Preach. I wanted to ask me, Abby, Evelyn. I'm a Southport resident and I'm on the NTA committee, which is the amazing committee that a few other people here are on that brings you these events. And I'm really excited to hear them. I've known Abby more than her children, and I tried to have the things in the cookbook. They don't look and stay out at the end, so I'm hoping to rectify that tonight and learn more. Thank you. I appreciate it. Everyone gets one of the points, especially with the So I have to say that I'm delighted to be here. This is my childhood and hometown library. I will admit to the fact that as a child, teenager, who should have known better, I got kicked out of this library more times than I should mention. The librarian at the time, Stanley Crane, would catch me and my friend Susie Powell in the stacks, inevitably, 3 or 4 times a week. It would blow his stack and he'd go into the stacks and right at the door and he'd say, Johnson, Powell, yeah. It's great. And then of course we'd straight back in the next day, probably if it's rinse and repeat. So I'm here with my pal, neighbor, longtime childhood friend, Evelyn Lee. So here's the question. I'm going to start out with this one. Do we call you EB? No. Oh, there, ask and answer.
Yeah. Some people do call me EB, but Evelyn works. And it is strange when someone says, I can be said, oh, but you're not. Oh, it should be there. Sorry. And no. 0 volume.
It is on. We can also just,
yeah, we're good at this. We do this. You know,
yes.
I just know. And he is my name was Corona. I did write children's books decades ago. They were part of the series, natural history series, very specific format. And I wanted to distinguish between that because I think it's something so Evelyn really has those books to see New York City's homeless language that had the same marker. So that's where I'm at.
So tell us about your premiere novel, Clean Sweep. I'm interested to hear what the genesis of this was. Where did that first nugget come from? And as a follow-up to that, I won't bombard you with too many questions right now. As a follow-up to that, I know a bit about the research that you did, but I think everyone should know because it's a fascinating tale.
I have researched and researched decades ago, truly decades ago. And I wrote a first draft at least a decade ago. And it went into a drawer because it wasn't ready. Someone told me it wasn't ready. Because I said, okay. And I went on to PowerPoint for 10 years. And then I went back to it because it had been told. I can honestly say that the genesis of it began as a child. My father worked in New York City. We'd go in as a family to see him for lunch or just a family gathering. And at one point, we went to go out. And there, as a child, I'm looking at the emperor in new clothes saying, why is that man sleeping on the sidewalk? So I had a very early family introduction to the fact that things happen. Life isn't always good, and you don't always have control over it. There's alcohol addiction, whatever. And compassion goes a long way. Then the research for Clean Sweep came along. I did do, as the protagonist Carly Morris does in the first chapter, I did do overnight mission into New York City to knock on boxes and hand out sandwiches and see who needed what. And I worked in the soup kitchen, volunteer. I have, and I want you all to do this because it's kind of remarkable. Next time you're in New York, and I know it's a little strange, but actually sit down and kneel down at the sidewalk, at the level where you see people walking by, because you do suddenly feel separate. And people who are doing this aren't doing it because they want to. There's something that's happened in their life, one way or another. And, mental health challenges, drug challenges, financial health challenges, they all come about. So I have worked in Manhattan, so I've seen it through not just childhood, but through the 80s, and have a daughter in Manhattan now, so I've seen it all for years. And it sticks with me. It just does. And I know, people who aren't on the streets struggle with things, and that sticks with me too. So I felt the story had to be told. It went in a drawer, and I just had to take it out. So there it is.
Yeah, that's perfect. So let's pick up in the story. What do you want us to? What's your tease? What do you want to tell us?
I want you to think and remember that no one says when I grow up, I want to live in a box on the sidewalk. No one says that. Anyone who's out there not dream of that, probably everyone there said, bicycling or throwing a ball as a child, or they had a different past. And they can have a different future. In many cases, it's not easy, but a lot of this revolves around the story. Outreach, like personal outreach. We can't all go out and do that. We need professionals for a good number of things, and people are in certain situations and conditions and mental conditions that you can't just say, hey, come on in with me. But just compassion, and I know a number of people who read it have said, oh, I started handing out sandwiches, I delivered things from the church, I put more clothes there, and oh, I see them differently now. And that's really good. The humans. But I just think it's a tough time to, say, oh wow, this is great when we're overflowing with people who are having hardships. But you're asking all of us. Okay, we're getting
yeah, no, we're taking a deep dive. I can tell you it's weird. Our friend, I like eating this. Hello. Well, I'm busy. So I'll ask writers who write all different kinds of things, pretty much the same question. What's your process? Are you a morning writer? Are you leading? Are you an all-morning? Palpitation? Yeah, do you have a process, a regime? We want to hear about it.
The regime is my dog rules and I follow. And she sleeps from about 7 p.m. on, so I get some really good quiet hours from 7 to midnight or 1 or 2 a.m. But I do work in the morning as well and in between walks. And honestly, when I'm on walks, I'm thinking dialogue. I'm not looking at my phone, I'm looking at the dog, but I am seeing scenes and it's a good way to clear out my mind and then go along. And then hope I can remember when I get back to the computer. And it's like when you go to bed, all these thoughts pop in and there you are and scribble, I can't read my writing the next one. So I don't record, but I know what writing to do. But my process, I'm more of a pantser than a plotter. So I write by the seat of my pants. I have another manuscript just about completed through a good first draft. But I would say I know where that started and where it ended, before I even put anything to paper, anything else. I have another series of, books on, sort of add a few comments to my little documents and sharpen. That's my little detective serial. I'm going to come on this. I have scenes in mind. I know where we're starting. I know what I want to include. So as a pantser, that's great because you can get a lot of things out of it. But then at some point you have to go back and plot. And I am working on this next novel and the next 3 to become more of a plotter. I mean, at some point you have to go back and know your timeline. You have to check and double check and make sure you're getting things in the right order. Don't have something happen when we're talked about when it doesn't happen. So my process is a little bit loose. I'm trying to tighten it up, but as I say, the dog rules, and I work around her schedule. I'm still I have a problem. She's 13, but
so that's the structure. The dog is the structure, which I can appreciate. So the other one of the many things I want about that. But first I want to touch back on knowing you for as long as I've known you, which has been forever and ever. I remember Evelyn as a child and a teenager as being a presence on the tennis court like I have still never seen. Quiet, determination, just clarity, a calmness on the tennis court. The strokes were beautiful, one after the other. And as I was thinking about chatting tonight, I was wondering, so is that natural athleticism and uniformity, or is a word for it, plays a part in your writing, in your schoolwork most likely. I mean, you're a very highly well-educated person, but you do, so methodically, and do you have anything to say? Is there any parallel? Did you take any of that, which you kind of did on the tennis court and how you did it when you write?
yes and no. Sports in general. So on the tennis court, I practice in practice. When I go home, Western Connecticut, we had a barn, there's a sloping grass hill. I was playing Wimbledon. That was going home back forward. And even to that, I was bounced uphill and run over and was passing. So I practiced and I just kept going. I honestly think writing's been interesting. I've wanted to do it for a lot of my life, and I have done it in different ways in my life. Some with jobs and some nonfiction, some more creative nonfiction, some fiction. When I'm writing, I'm on my own, and it's so nice when you have your editor saying, "Here's some things." It's like professional feedback. I'm not on my own. Tennis I love, but honestly, if I had to beat someone, I wouldn't want to, and that was a drawback. So I had the strokes, but I didn't want to do that. So the group and the team sports were really where I felt most comfortable. So in some ways, this puts me out of my comfort zone, but it doesn't because I need such an introvert in response. I mean, the dog gets me out, and if the dog didn't get me out, I might be the person who wants to go down anyway because I'm just. I'm going to clean, when it all see everything else. So the sports helped because yes, determination, and when I was writing, I knew I was going to write. And I wanted to write when we were younger, but as much as I'm quiet, there's a lot going on here. And there's a lot of emotion. And I might have thought of the child, I was a scientist. So when my English classes were my hardest classes. And, you get some book where you're looking up the definition with the little paper and pages of the dictionary, and then you're looking up the definition of what weren't in the definition before you can go back to your assignment to see what you're reading. And then I'd write something and think, gotten it out there, B minus, C, no, you get an A, there, no. So I have, at this age, I have a distance that I don't know why, we can change, but I have a certain distance in me that lets me look at this differently and you can get the emotions out from characters and not be heavily thinking she's getting the best thing out there. Like, no, let's look at this again. So
I'm going to add to that, and I wonder if this happened to you. Evelyn and I both went to GFA. We went to the TAP. There was a teacher at GFA who, his name he's still around, is Chris Brown. Chris Brown was the English teacher. Chris Brown on my papers would say inevitably, time after time, good idea, poorly expressed. Poorly expressed. And I saw him for the first time since then, about 15 years ago. He then was teaching in TAP when my kids were there. And I said to him, Mr. Brown, right, I'm 110 and he's 130. And he's Mr. Brown. And I told him this, and he was mortified. He said, I can't believe I said that to you. I said that on your paper, and I said, you said it to me on most of my paper. And he was extremely apologetic. But what I said to him is, I said, no, I want to thank you. Thank you for that. Because anything that I have written, I look at it and I think, okay, I know it's a good idea. It's poorly expressed. So, it's those learning things that, it's like they stick with you, don't they? Yeah, no. So let's take us through the publishing process for you. You went through self-publishing, and I want to hear about that journey and all of that.
Look, I have questions for you. I felt at my age, I did not wish to send a manuscript out and wait 6 months to get an answer, probably no, and send it out again, and then come back. And I felt like time was not on my side for that kind of thing. And I wanted my story out there. I want people to read this. It's important to me. I feel it's okay, maybe it could be better than it is, but I feel it's a good story, and I want people to read it and take something away from it. And that's what I'm much fun. So I decided to self-publish, and thank goodness for the internet and being able to Google search and all the rest, that you can find people who have done this before. So I did looking people who are self-published and just read their blogs and emailed and found. I went through an organization called Reedsy. It's just Reedsy, REEDSY, and they have freelance graphic designers, freelance cover designers, freelance editors, freelance copy editors, freelance proofreaders, freelance marketing. You put your book out there and you say, okay, then you look at their bios and say, well, let me see what you think about this, what should be that when you want to work with me. So I could find editors, proofreaders, cover designers, who would be doing my cover design. I think it would be fun. So I'm sorry, I didn't bring the new one, but I don't have it quite yet. But I went through a lot of others who've done this to find out how to do it. And then for publishing, I created Little Brown Dog Press, dog just keeps coming into the picture. And, we'll love it together based on my little brown dog, who name's Quinn. Um, although I'm going to call her Quinn Dago if I ever get a road touring with me. What's the idea? We have a little brown dog press, so it's not kids book by EDV, published by EDV, so it's a little more credibility. I can get reviews ahead of time, and then for actually printing, there are programs. The one I use is Vellum, VELLUM, different from Vella, which is the Amazon, Kindle. I think it's Kindle, it's Amazon, the way to read, 10 pages here, and then something else comes out. It sort of continues so far. I don't know if it's a problem, but it's like the continued series of chapters. So you can read, you don't have to buy an entire book, and you just kind of can go for a long time. So Vella is that. With Vellum, you format your Microsoft document however how you're supposed to do it, single spaced and not paragraph. And then you upload it into the program Vellum. Vellum then has it in the format that you find in the book. From there, you take that and you upload it to either Ingram Spark, it's one distributor. They sell to libraries, they sell to bookstores, they sell to all different outlets. And you get your cover design there, and then you're all set with distribution from them. But you have to make decisions. I thought, okay, I will get this to bookstores, but I'm not going to have it refundable. I'll give you a discount, but not refundable. Well, I don't think I'm doing too well in bookstores because the bookstore wants a discount. They'll say, I don't want to be on the book for that. So I also publish through Amazon Kindle. I upload it, and there you are, and then they can also distribute through Ingram Spark. So that, and then as a self-publisher, I'm the marketer, I'm the sitting on the everything, and I'm just trying to figure that part out and get my time so I can work it into writing without taking too much time. But I like what I've done. If someone wants to, represent me in my book, I've talked to them, but I like being with them. It's kind of fun. It's a lot of work. Do a lot of everything's a lot of work. Yeah, it's how things to be. Yeah, but it's so much more to do. Yeah, that's a lot of work. Congratulations. That's a feat. I started the butternut gardens thing, thinking I was just going to be flowers, and which that got me into the idea of planting here. I think I can. So that was a feat. So this was pretty easy. Is it my that? That's my turn. Yeah. It's time to like when it's starting.
When did you get your confidence in that? It sounds like you were a science major and you weren't getting the best feedback. So, and now I hear your confidence and you deserve that confidence. When did that come?
That is a mystery, I guess. I don't know. I wrote, as I say, I worked with Trust with Public Land, I was environmental science, but I wrote for them different things for newsletters and grants and whatnot. I don't know. I think really just this last round of writing and deciding I was going to do it, and then getting feedback from the editors that I used. I think that really helped, gave me direction, and like, yes, I can do this. And truly having the butternut gardens, I can do this. And there's no reason why I'm not going to do it. And I've always been, you're like your own. you're a critic of yourself, so you don't want something that's lively. But I will be looking for people who might want to be my beta readers for my next one, because I'd like a little more feedback before I get it out there, so. I will, something, yeah, I'm getting that.
You have a good audience there.
Yes, maybe, did you give me feedback? Oh, no. So, you know, you hit me up pretty hard and stuff, you know, Evelyn or eBay, so I'm gonna hit you up in a different kind of way, but Abby, you have been doing, and you're adding an other way.
Honestly, I will go by, people have called me Annie, Aubrey, Bobby, Amy. If it begins with an A, I don't care.
And you? No, I won't. You have been doing baking, chocolates, sweets for a very long time, very successful. And just to get things started here, how have you not gained 90 million?
Not even a months. I don't know about that. You know what it is? It's ebb and flow. I think like everybody in their life and in their diets and things like that. And, you know, I do my best to practice taste, not eat, which is I have a sweet tooth. It's very hard. I also have in my closet several different sizes of clothes. And it's a joke. And what fits on a certain day is what fits, and I'm good at that. I mean, you have to kind of give in, you know, it's dessert. I can't get through someone else with you without, and sheet cakes, which is in there. How did sheet cakes? Sheet cakes was like the best of the best. I mean, how it's made for all of us who just want to make, put it in the pan and there you are. I mean, tell me how sheet cakes evolved and, you know, where it's going. I mean, are we going to get a sheet cakes too? Because I want one. Sheet cakes too, that's that snag we're wearing to, doesn't it? Sheet cake came to me one evening many years ago when I was making sheet pan dinner. We've all seen sheet pan dinners, right? You know, it's put it all on a thing and throw it in the oven, and I thought, well, what? Put the chicken on the sheet pan, the hot sheet pan, and then you throw that in the oven with whatever else is hardy. You know, potatoes, carrots, and then halfway through you maybe throw in some peas and some stuff. So it's coming out of the oven and it's everything you need. Okay, so you need to go home and Google. There's no, that book is already been in. Yes. Molly Gilbert, I believe, were sheet pan suffers and pan suffers. Don't make me say it too many times too fast. Well, I know, but it's the genesis of this one. And I just kind of thought, well, why are we making desserts in that same sheet pan that everybody already has? Because it's the biggest complaint I hear from readers over the years. Well, I live in a really small kitchen. It's too small. I can't have a bunch of different pots and pans. You know, I can't have all of those different cake pans. So this way, believe me, that woman who wrote Sheet Pan Suppers, she's living the big life now in like Hawaii or something. So people already have that cake. So why not just start making desserts? So that's how that happened. It was smart for me. So I just dance too. That's what I'm doing. Dance too. On the big screen. Meryl Streep.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, you pick me up with my process. You have done so many things and you've known what you wanted to do and have followed through on it. 11 cookbooks later, TV shows, classes. How did you know this is what you wanted to do? And what were you like before you really got going? I mean, as a child, what did your kitchen look like? Your family kitchen look like?
Well, I think so. I should start by saying that I grew up with 3 older brothers. So product was devoured, anything that came out of the kitchen. My mother had 5 older brothers and always said that for me that I got on easy because I only had 3. I don't know about that, but we will check my scorecard. And my mom kind of got us into a routine where she and I every Sunday would make something for dinner on Sunday night. She'd call it Sunday afternoons in the kitchen with me, she'd say. And so that's where I learned very, very young. And I learned how to bake. And even before I really understood what I was making, it was all fun things. It wasn't just brownies. It was floating island and poaching meringues and all sorts of crazy stuff. And I really loved it. And she used to say to me, she was a young woman, and she used to say to me as she and I were making the poaching the meringues, she used to say, when you grow up, you're going to have to work for it. And I want to make sure that you love what you're doing. Don't do something that you don't love. I was 10. And then as my teenage years and stuff, came on, my friend Harriet Mays Powell and I had a little catering business. Erica John was one of our celebrity clients. Lots of pyramid power back in those days. And so it just kind of, it was something that I always did. There's always food involved. And when it came time to decide, I kind of came to a crossroads, the fork in the road, as it were. And I, at 21, 22, I thought, oh God, what am I going to do? What in the world am I going to do? And I remember what my mom used to say. She said, I want you to do something that you love to do. And I thought, I like to bake things. So I packed my bags and went to Paris.
Keep going.
Yeah.
I had forgotten about the catering business.
Yeah, I sold 4 hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Paris and okay, so I went to Paris. My brothers were not happy with me. My brothers, my oldest brother, Dave, was like, you're not going to finish college, but you're going to go to Paris to go to culinary school? And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So this was before, it was a long time ago. So that was the choice I made. So I did go to that. And I lived in Paris, and I worked for anybody in anybody's kitchen. I went to school, culinary school, and then I just kind of proceeded. I came back, I ran out of money. Brother wouldn't give me any more money. He was like, "Yeah, no, that's done now." And I have to say that they were very skeptical, and I appreciate that. It's pretty unusual. And then years later, when I had my first cover food recipe on the cover of Bon Appetit magazine, that was sweet. I gotta tell you. So, how about that cookie French cooking school thing? And that felt really good. So, but yeah, and I've just been lucky and fortunate, and certain amount of determination and a certain amount of creativity and figuring out how to have a family. And, I worked in restaurants for what seems like years. And that as a pastry chef, pastry cook, that's incredibly hard. You're the first one there in the morning. You work all through when everyone's taking their lunch break, and you're the last one serving dessert. So you are almost the last person in the restaurant. And I just thought, there's got to be a better way. it's just, I can't live like this. So I moved into, editorial and took some determination, you know what they're two about. And then I got my very first book, which was called Great Fruit Desserts, which my friend Polly Tillman used to call it Great Fruit. Great Fruit Stickers. She was like, how in the world did you come up with 100 recipes for grapefruit? It's like, I know it's great fruit. It's been a long running joke. And that's just such a story of determination. It's so cool. I mean, amazing. I would like to know, and I'm sure the rest of you, how did you come up and test? I mean, you're a methodical person. You're organized. Have I worked on a committee without it? She's organized. Methodical, organized, and you are very determined. And I just wonder how you come up with new recipes and what your whole process of them testing and then retesting. Is it, and you love it? What's like any writing, there's a grueling part to it. At one point, I didn't even know where a comma went. About proofreading what I thought, oh, this is horrible. But I'm sure there are times when you're just saying, what am I doing? But there you are with new ideas and keep on going with amazing recipes. Process. So I'm not a writer. I am a food person who has learned how to find my voice and write a recipe the way I want to write a recipe and then tell the story behind it, which is called the head note. So writing the book is the grueling part. Coming up with all the recipes, doing all of that stuff, all the testing, that's the really fun part. That's in the kitchen playing. And when it comes to, recipes and where recipes come from, Evelyn, I understood and heard you when you said that when you're walking your dog, it's all happening. It's all just happening. It's just all kind of bubbling around there. And I was listening to NPR the other day, and Harry Connick Jr. was on, and someone asked him about his Christmas album. Well, for God's sakes, how do you come up with a new version of Silent Night? And I was listening, and he said, well, I take the concept, and I think, well, how do I feel about that right now? How does that song affect me right now? What am I thinking about? And I thought, oh my God, that's exactly right. It's the same thing with what I do. I just published on Cook the Vineyard a chocolate mousse recipe. In my lifetime, I have developed probably 25 chocolate mousse recipes, maybe even more. And when I thought about this chocolate mousse recipe 2 months ago that I wanted to include this one in the column, I thought chocolate mousse, that's a holiday tradition. And I thought, how is that relevant in people's lives now? How does it make me feel? What do I want to do? I want to make it fast, I want to make it good, and I want to make it easy. And if I can make it ahead, even better. So when it comes to recipes and all of that, that's kind of what it's like. How is that recipe affecting me now? What do I want to tell people? What do I want for it in my own life? And that's kind of where it starts. And then there's a lot of trial and error, sometimes more, sometimes less. And Evelyn, just so you said you had a book in the drawer. Every writer has at least one book in the drawer. It's the same. I have recipes in the drawer that, not quite ready to find. So that's the process. Okay, well, I don't know if anyone else has questions for Abigail. Yeah,
How many times do you have to, is there an average time it takes to perfect a recipe? Like, is it a quarter to teaspoon of sugar? Do I need more sugar? Do I need more salt? Like, how, that's what I'm, how do you know?
How do you you know when you know. So some recipes test very smoothly, very easily. They come together. I test them 3 or 4 times. Other recipes, especially if they're more complex, it's really the process, the directions that need tweaking and need to be, I try and be as clear as I can in recipes. And when it comes to know how much salt and stuff like that, that's when I mentioned I taste, I try to just taste, not eat. Because eating can really get you into trouble. But you have to taste, you have to understand. And it's that process has also evolved as time has gone on and I've gotten older and maybe, taste buds and everybody's lives are more sophisticated, understanding, don't get me started, but I'll just say understanding the emphasis and the need for salt and desserts is something I'm very passionate about. Because it's that part of the process, in tasting it and saying, is this the best it can taste? And then is the process, the directions that I'm giving, are those the clearest, most concise recipes? And do they still line up with who I am as a food person, cookbook, author, a recipe writer? Another question? Hi. Oh, you go first.
I don't understand how 20 different recipes. There is only one type of blue salt, the one that So I'm just curious how, anyone who all the different, I hope it was like home. It was like very roots and home. And you get served the top of roots and it's like hard, you have to have money. But put it. So how do you deal with the fact that you have people like me who think they're going one way to do something and come up with 20 different ways to
So, a lot of that has to do with making sure that readers, that I'm managing reader expectation. So when I say that this chocolate mousse that is just on the line now, velvety, rich, smooth. I didn't say light, airy, fluffy. Right, because it's not that loose. And I make a point of saying very early, and again, it really is about managing expectations. I'm not starting out, I don't say, this is Peter's mother's favorite food. If you love Peter's mother's foods, you're going to love this one. You have to kind of do that. And so, and again, there are obviously different kinds of foods. Your mom's is your favorite. I've done chocolate mousse recipe, cake recipes, I've done parfaits, I've done mousse coated creme version, there's kind of a no-bake version of that. I mean, the sky's really the limit wherever you want to take it. But it's not for myself as an expert in these things and as a writer, I try and put it right up front. This is what this is. And if it's in the title, if it's not in the title, it's going to be in the deck. The headline. So if to manage it, you manage it.
Yes, sorry, one question. Do you mind giving us a sneak peek on what's in the next cookbook, what genre, and as a follow-up, does the publisher ever try to sway you into a certain category and say, Abby, there's an initiative here with this? Does that ever happen, or do you stay as far on what you want?
Publishers always want to lead you into that direction. I have had not a lot of situations where I've had to say no, but I did have that situation very recently where I just had to say no, because it's not what I do. I mean, if a publisher asked me to do, an easy bake oven cookbook, I'd say no. Because I don't, that's just not what I do. If someone wanted me to write having, I don't know, elaborate French desserts are, all the rage now. So, that's really not my lane anymore. I'm the wrong author for that. So, it's hard as somebody who does what I do, it's hard to say no. It's really hard. Someone says, here, I'll write you a check. And you have to say, no, you want that check, but you do say no.
And your next book might be.
The next cookbook might be, I'm working on a concept of, kind of a make it your own kind of concept where I offer, it's kind of what I've always done, right? I like to offer recipes that can be tailored to your own taste, to your own serving size and things like that. So it's kind of what they call it, not do it yourself. Build your own thing. So I'm sorry? Yeah, he's edited in a very graphic fashion. So that's a complicated thing because it would have to fit on 2 pages in a spread. That's
Ambitious.
but it's kind of what more of going along with what I like to offer readers. Yeah. I wrote a story. I've written several stories for them over the years, and I wrote a story, and they photographed everything at the time I was in California, and they chose one of so I wasn't personally, it was my recipe. They chose that one particular recipe. Leaders, mothers, child. So one was a chocolate cake. Was it? Or there was a Sunday, park day kind of thing in summer one year. I thought it was a meringue cake. I think the first one was a meringue cake. Yeah. 1975. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm happy with that. What you're doing.
Yeah, anyway.
Jane, I'm switching the point thing, but I just want to say I was looking up your other book, and I love your book of children.
Oh, if I made looking, I did.
Huh?
If I made looking.
And now I don't even remember the when you are the black on and you look,
Yeah.
and thank you for that. You're welcome. What is your best? I want to get somebody who's into baking and trying to figure out how to realize that, or what is that, what kind of jobs. And you read your books. That's
Not cheap there. That's so I wrote a book published 5 years ago, 6 years ago, called The Everyday Baker. And it's a step-by-step primer. Each recipe has how-to photographs that teaches you the skill associated in the recipe. So it's like a cooking class for every recipe. And that's that. Anyway. I do have my question. I've known Amy a long time, so. So the question is, what for has for your sales, your audience, ways, and then the second question is, you publish this issue to the social media, which lets you in that way, helpful that you like to do it and not want to do that. So the gluten-free question is a very good one. The good news now, today, is, as opposed to even 10 years ago, is that the cup for cup gluten-free flour mixtures are much more around. And King Arthur makes one. Bob's Red Mill makes one. And there's another big brand too, and they work very well. I am not gluten free, and I don't have that science base to delve into that. So that would not be along with Holly was saying. That's not my lane. But I do try to, not on every occasion, but I do try to test with one of those gluten-free flour substitutes with some of the recipes. It gets time consuming.
You find that successful?
Yeah, definitely. It gets a little more complicated if people have to be in a completely gluten-free kitchen. Then I can't swear by that. That's above my favorite.
But in terms of taste.
Yeah. Mostly.
That is
Oh, it's stirred up. Social media. Yeah.
So that, you know, the also is very quick.
So the TikTok people who do food recipes are all the rage. They are the ones who are getting big cookbook contracts, which frightens the heck out of me. Yeah, I mean it's, you know, and it's because of their following. It's because of their following. These people who have, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers will sell, they'll sell a lot of books. I don't mind social media. I, you know, enjoy it to a point. I've never had the troll situation for the most part. You know, I'm over the course of email, when email came around, I started getting some kind of nasty emails from people. You know, what do you do? You know, I get more nice comments. Social media, I'm too old really to delve into that. No. Yeah, no, I am. I am. I'm going to pass this over to Evie here. Evie loves it. You know, it's not something that I love to jump into. On the other hand, if I look at it as, well, people want to know this, then it's great. I mean, I wanted to tell people that we feed her tonight. That's great. That's fun. I love, you know, I can go to Canva and create some fun things that way. I know people like to see my flower photos more than they want to see, you know, whatever else I'm writing about my book. So I'm trying to find that balance between, you know, I want my friends to know, but I do want some more, I want to increase my audience of friends, even though there won't be people I know, so it's all. But I'm trying to figure out the balance between, you know, they say, oh, send out a newsletter 2 weeks. Like, I'm not going to bother my people every 2 weeks. So, you know, forget it. I'll do my blogs, and every month or 2 months, I'll send out a newsletter. I'm not the most unpopular, which maybe hurts, but that's all right. I want to keep friends, and people who want to find me, and you should find me. Instagram has been my go-to because as a former flower farmer, it was really photo and flower friendly. Facebook, I've never gone on Facebook. I mean, my own personal account, I didn't have a personal account. I opened a Facebook account for my business, and then now I have one. And I know a lot of people in my age, maybe they like Facebook, they connect with people. Honestly, with myself and my dog, and I'm okay with them. You know, I like to know what people are doing, solve it, but I don't like to do that. But the dog is going to die someday. It's like, I better go on Facebook. I better find friends with them. And then, you know, Instagram, I feel like that's above my head. That's my people reaching out to them to people. I mean, that doesn't work for me. So I made it more to Facebook, and newsletter, my blog, and people are interested in fun. And but in terms of I love it, no, I mean, because as a creator, I want to create. And some of the things that I can do is free, but it's also consuming, and that's time consuming. So, was there a question? Any questions?
Actually, I did have one. So I was kind of wondering a little bit about, you were talking about going to France, and I was just wondering a little more about your cultural influences when you're developing recipes. So, like, are there certain like national culinary trends that you follow, or is it more just kind of like a literal melting?
Oh, that's a great question, and an important question, I think, these days. So, I try and stick with what I've been taught, which is classic French.
I love it.
I don't, I am not French. I don't have any claims to it, but that's what I've been taught. So that's my number. I'm sorry?
You're doing brilliant writing.
Yes, an early influence of mine. And I think it's important that people stick with their lanes. And I, I try and keep it real for me, and I try and make sure that I reject that, and that I don't try and be somebody who I'm not. I think that's the way most people get into trouble anyway. And I don't want to get into trouble. And it's also, so on the, French influence, French American influence, who tries to, make baking easier for people, faster, easier, better. Something like that. Oh, do you have another question? Time's up. No, it's I forget. Recipe to actual product is the answer for me, but the process of then having to photograph and putting it in the book. Does someone come to your house and we take it to them? Does the delivery person pick up?
And I was gonna ask, something in, when you're doing your recipe, are you in your own kitchen or do you have a kitchen or commercial kitchen? Or
So, good question. So when I'm writing recipes for, which most of them are for home cooks, I'm doing them all at my house. When I ran the test kitchens for Fine Cooking Magazine, we had test kitchens there that I built, but they were all home kitchens. There's no fancy steam ovens. There's no anything like that.
Yeah, everybody how to sit on using plain simple flour, like not a gourmet, for the trend. We usually go back to what people know about fire.
Yes. So I try and I test, when I test and develop a recipe, I make sure that I'm testing it with baseline ingredients. Chocolates, it's either Nestle or it's Ghirardelli, and vanilla, yes, it's pure vanilla extract, but it's, McCormick's, gold medal flour. That's the baseline. Unsalted butter, it's always the Stop and Shop brand. Sometimes if it's Stu Leonard's is cheap, I'll do that. Because I know that from there moving up, if someone's using a higher quality of chocolate, a higher quality of butter, that will elevate their experience. Some of the more home crafty vanilla extracts will do that same thing. But I kind of leave the recipe out there that says, hey, I've done this in my own kitchen with pretty basic ingredients. Take it away. Photographs. Yeah. So my process has been, I've been fortunate that I've had publishers who have been willing to pay for photographs, tens of thousands of dollars. Most authors, I've written a lot of books. That's the way it started out. Nowadays, authors get a cash advance, but then they have to pay for the photography, tens of thousands of dollars. It's amazing how much money people have to spend. So I have been fortunate, and I draw the line on that too. I'm not going to pay for the photographs. You want to put my name on a book, you're going to have to pay for those pictures. So So this is the Clarkson, if you look at the Clarkson Potter book, and they published beautiful books, and very, very fortunate. And they did all of this. We did this during COVID, during deep COVID. And so it was 2 weeks of photography that I was not there for. So I was on Zoom for the entire time because it was deep COVID. Nobody could do anything. So it was for me because I was just sitting there staring at a Zoom call.
Okay, I'm not kidding. They're taking a picture of what you made.
No, not what I did. Food stylist. It had a studio. Everyone was masked. And that's pretty much the way it is for me.
You didn't make this.
No.
They made your recipe.
Yeah.
They made your recipe.
Someone who knows all about food photography and style.
They don't normally. For cookbook, cookbook offers from the onset that he or she was not actually creating their own product. It's still benefit for them. And they can't do, you need to get one shot of cake, probably 6 different cakes. Because they're gonna add things to it, they're gonna change things, they're gonna adjust lighting. And like, what happens to one? Not around the people in the studio.
Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah.
But I think some of the best cookbooks I've seen have come out during the COVID period because they're also in a very short niche. And the stylists and the team, they don't want to be making all of them things. So they really are forced to get that time. To do it. But to be with Martin Potter, if they're not with confidence, was probably the best thing to do it.
Yeah, it's very working. It's like we never talk.
The biggest prize is that.
Sheet cake. This one. Yeah. You did it?
Because I remember working on the 25th, the last year on the New York Times, did I mention it?
I think it was top 12 or maybe top 11. So yes, last year on the New York Times 2020. The everyday paper. It's called the everyday paper. Yeah. Work in progress. Work in progress. Families. Hashtag families. But anyway, thank you. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys. With the trailer up from North Carolina, much appreciated. Oh, wow. Yeah. She drove up yesterday. No, you're not doing that tonight. Oh, really? Yes. Well, no. Well,